Greetings. Thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel today. It's called Mama Shelby. I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that you're doing well. I filmed a voice audio journal a few days ago when I completely quit using social media altogether. I deactivated and deleted and canceled the only social media account that I had, which was Quora, Quora, because the bullying, the cyberbullying, which of course is also harassment, bullying and harassment, was too persistent, too frequent, daily basis. From random people I don't know based on their lack of true identity. Most people I'm dealing with, unfortunately, I'm not saying most people are, I'm saying most people I have been dealing with are cowards. So they, as cowards, cannot approach me as their real self with their real face and their real name. That's what I mean by cowards. They wear masks with fake names and no picture, fake accounts, fake pictures, etc. So the title of that video journal audio I was talking about a couple days ago, it's called Quitting Quora, and I plan to add that video at the end of this one. So this would be like another video journal that is prefacing the Quitting Quora video journal that I filmed a few days ago. I will be sharing in the same YouTube video, okay? I hope you understand. So my name is Shelby Steele. I go by Mama Shelby because my daughter used to call me that. And my mom stole my daughter from me. Just like in the Bible, in the Old Testament, there's a story of two women who lived together, and one woman had a baby. And the other woman's baby died because they both had babies. And so the woman whose baby died stole the other woman's baby who was alive, which was me, my baby. My mother, whose babies died, stole my baby who was alive from me. And it is a legendary story in the Old Testament of one of Solomon's first trials as a divine judge. And the two mothers came before Solomon in this trial, and they were both claiming that the baby was their baby. You see, my mother, who stole my child from me, did the same thing. She claimed that my baby was her baby. Anyway, I'm the real mother. And in that story, Solomon judged righteously, and he gave the baby to the real, actual, true mother. And the way that Solomon found out who really was the real, actual, true mother was that Solomon told both of the women, I'm going to be fair about this, and I'm going to cut the baby in half, and you get one half of the baby, and you get the other half of the baby. And the fake mother, the evil, wicked liar, said, okay, sure, I agree to that judgment. And the real mother objected, and she said, no, I do not agree to that judgment. Let the wicked, evil woman have my baby instead of killing the baby. And that's what I did. And I am the real mother. That's why I am Mama Shelby, because my daughter called me that. And hopefully she still does. She's 21 now. And my mom's mom, Dorothy May, her spirit passed over, of course, has been very close to me lately, trying to get my attention, so I gave her my attention. And what she is trying to get my attention for is she wants to use me to bring about justice. I know for a fact, I have no question and all confidence when I say, my mom, the one who stole my child from me, the wicked lady, she killed her mom. I know this because it was right in front of me and I was standing there in the same room when she pulled the plug of life support and killed her mother in the hospice room. Okay. Even though this was a planned murder with the help of the healthcare system and the staff in the hospice in Temecula, California. My grandmother, Dorothy, the one who's trying to bring about justice for being murdered by my mother, which is her daughter, Dorothy's daughter, Jamie, who is my mother, who stole my child from me, killed Dorothy right in front of me watching. Like I said, this was a planned murder. I'm assuming the reason is for life insurance money, because my mom is very greedy for money. And I'm assuming the reason why my mom stole my baby from me was for money. She sex trafficked my child for money, and she legally adopted my child against my will, using lies and spell work on the courts, and blocking me from attending and speaking up in the courts against her with the truth. My mom manipulates the courts. She manipulates the healthcare system. She manipulates her children, me, everyone around her with lies, because her father is Satan, and everyone who lies, their father is Satan, because Satan is the father of lies. My mother is a child of Satan, absolutely. And so is Bobby Joe from The Well, who I met here when I first moved here. Okay. So the way that this is transitioning here at 9 minutes and 55 seconds to quitting Quora, the reason I quit Quora was harassment. I've lived here in the town where I'm at for roughly 3 years, I'm guessing, averaging. I I have been harassed the entire time. But honestly, I don't think I want to place the blame of where this spirit of harassment originated. Yes, it was given to me and it happened in the town I'm at, but I don't think it originated from the town I'm at. I think it originated from the town I came from, my family, my mom. My family is a mafia. Yeah. My mom works with the shadow government. Yeah. And she, like I said, manipulates with lies. She's a child of Satan. Okay. Spiritually, not 3D physically. Okay. My grandmother, Dorothy, is not Satan, even though my mom is her physical 3D child. My mom is spiritually a child of Satan. I am 3D physically a child of my mother, who is a child of Satan. But I spiritually am not a child of Satan because I do not lie. Okay. So if you read in the Bible, maybe we can make this video daily bread about the scripture that says everyone who lies is a child of Satan. Okay. And because I speak the truth is why children of Satan deem me as a threat to them, because I speak the truth and they are liars. And they don't want to be exposed as the liars that they really, truly, absolutely are. Okay. My mom has not only stolen my child from me, but she turned her against me with lies. This is what narcissistic parental alienation parents do. Very, very typical. My mom is a narcissist because she has sex with my daughter and accepts money from drug addict, ugly, disease-filled men, fat men who she dates, etc., who worship Satan and, you know, do drugs, to forcefully impregnate my daughter. And then on top of that, not talk to her. So that is not only physically and sexual abuse, but it is emotional and psychological abuse. They ripped apart and chewed up her spirit and her soul and spit it out. And now I'm trying to hug and heal my daughter and get her back. My daughter's not even really there. My daughter had to completely separate from her own soul and her own essence and spirit and who she is and everything, because that much abuse she endured at the hands of my mother, who stole her from me using lies and manipulation and spell work on the courts. So it was not only physical rape, it was soul rape. Yes. So anyway, she attempted murder on me countless times. My mother attempted murder on me countless times. She could not physically murder me in the 3D. So what she did was she spiritually murdered me. Another scripture we can talk about in this Daily Bread video today is the one where it says, excuse me, when you assassinate someone's character, when you gossip and talk falsely and negatively about an innocent child of God, what you are doing is you are committing spiritual murder. So that's what they did to me here in this town where I'm at, including Bobby Joe was one of the gang stalkers. She was one of the insanely mental spiritual assassins of me. She illegally slandered me. That bad. Purposefully trying to block me from getting jobs. Okay. Another person who was involved in this was my ex-surgeon from Los Angeles, Human Jaladat, and his work wife, assistant, Angela Sue. Okay. I was renting, so when I first moved here, I rented a room in a house from a man who dressed like a woman, a transgender person, who claimed to be of royal blood, and that he was sexually abused his entire childhood, and which completely makes sense why he's, you know, gender confused now. After I left that place, I moved to Oskaloosa, and I rented a room from a man who was an ex-convict of murder. He was around my age. He lied to me and told me that he had a vasectomy and he wanted to have sex with me. And I kind of played with this talking he was doing to me, and I asked him, show me proof of your vasectomy. And what he did was he went to like Google and he printed out like the definition of vasectomy, and he brought it to me and he said, here's my proof that I had a vasectomy. And I said, no, that's you just printed out a definition on Google. That's not real proof. His parents found me in the house one day, like making noise in a room through a window. They're like, who's that in there? And they came in and they said, you're not allowed to be here. What happened was I ended up calling the police because I had nowhere to go. And I asked them to drive me to a hotel so I'm not homeless. And the police told me that that man who I was renting from was on probation. He was a murder convict. And he was literally planning to kill me. Okay, so at the hotel that very night, the police didn't take me to the hotel. The parents of the murderer took me to the hotel with a girl, with a very teenage girl in the car with them, who had a very, very, very short skirt on, who was very rigid and didn't talk at all. She was a sex trafficked girl. They said they were taking her to church. Okay, this was at like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. Okay. The next day, I was checking out of the hotel room and looking for a ride to some town where I had like a doctor appointment. On the front desk counter, there was a little like paper, a flyer of some person offering rides, like a taxi service. I called the number to get the ride for the taxi service. The person showed up and I told him my situation and what I was going through, and I was in a real pickle, and I was, you know, I have nowhere to go. And he said, let me call my wife. And he picked up his phone and he talked to his wife for a few minutes. And he said, you can come stay with us. We have an extra room. And I said, oh my gosh, you're an angel, you know, this and that. So I ended up staying with him for like maybe, I don't know, I'm guessing roughly like a month or two, trying every single day, trying to get back on my feet. I tried to get into the local, like a battered women's shelter or something in Oskaloosa. They wouldn't let me in. They said there was no room. Okay. They had a child who was literally retarded. He had Down syndrome. And they kicked me out of their house because they wanted their Down syndrome son to live in the room where I was staying. And, you know, that's understandable. So I ended up moving back to the town where I'm at, where I originally came. And Bobby Joe, I asked her, you know, can I drop some things off here at the well, just in the front grass, because I'm moving, and I have, you know, I need help, and this place offers help, so I'm asking you for help. And she said no with a big smile on her face, you know, because she is purposefully doing everything she can to block me from getting better and, you know, living a normal life. So anyway, I rented an apartment that was up for rent online or on the newspaper or something. I found it. And they accepted me. You know, when you're in dire straits, you know, when you're desperate, you'll take anything. You know what I mean? So I took what I could get. I was got into this rental in Fairfield. Okay. This rental that I got into in Fairfield was not a real residential place. And I didn't know that until after I had signed the lease and moved in. So Bobby Joe decided to call the police and try to get me kicked out and homeless, you know, because this is who she is. And the police knocked on my door, and they said, it wasn't the police, it was the fire department. They said, do you live here? I said, I'm renting this place. Yes. How can I help you? Oh, well, we got a phone call from Bobby Joe from the well that you're living here. And this is actually, like, according to the fire standards code or whatever, you know, the city laws, residential zoning laws, okay. He said, this place, no one's supposed to be living here. I'm not the only one living in that building. There are other people living in that building, just like I was. The woman, the landlord, rented these rooms out as residential rooms. I did not know that until after I was already living there. As soon as I did find out that, I moved. I got a job at the Raj, and I lived at the Raj. But if you want to back up, there was a man who I did not know. He was, and he was tweaked out, strung out on drugs, who was always pacing back and forth in front of my front door where I lived. And I walked outside one day to like smoke a cigarette, and this man blurted out, totally strung out, way high on drugs. He said, "Go back to California." And I said, "How do you know I'm from California?" And then he like went totally silent and kind of giggled and laughed and smiled and smirked and walked away. there was another Asian woman who walked by, and she stopped on the corner of the street and she held up her cell phone and she took a photo of me like from behind, of me like smoking a cigarette and sitting on the steps in front of my house looking at her. There was other young teenage girls who were parked in front of my window in my house on that same street, Broadway, I think it's called, I'm guessing. But they would just sit there for hours. And I would look out the window. And so finally I would walk outside and I would walk up to their car and I would knock and I would say, "Hi, why are you parked in front of my window for hours? Can I help you?" These people were being paid by someone, maybe Bobby Joe, to obviously stalk me and surveillance me and, you know, watch me, etc. This is called gang stalking. One more thing before I wrap up here at 26 minutes. I'm sure there's a lot more I can say, but I've already said a lot. And Human Jaladat, not only did I see his face completely broken out in bloody sores at the courthouse, he was sitting on a bench in the across the street from the place where I lived, where I was getting gang stalked, and he had his hands like this on the bench. Excuse me. And he was sitting like this, and that was before I bumped into him on the stairs in the courthouse. It was the same day. But he's obviously stalking me physically. Before that, like days before that, maybe a week before that, I saw him drive down the street of my other house where I lived when I first moved here. He was in a black, shiny car, very expensive car. The same car actually I saw that he had when I was meeting him at his medical office in Los Angeles. So apparently this man owns this black, shiny Mercedes-Benz or something, expensive car, and he drove in it from California here to Iowa to stalk me in his car. And I saw him in his car driving very slow, stalking me, and I was just walking down the street going to the laundromat to wash my laundry. Okay. And this was a few houses before I saw him again at the courthouse when he had HIV. Okay. When I was living at the place on Broadway, I texted something like as a joke that Angela Sue, Human Jaladat's assistant, was his work wife. And the very second that like I posted it on social media or something, that reference, I heard behind me outside my window in the alleyway a shriek of a woman that sounded Asian. Like completely demonic, crazy, straight from hell scream. The very second after I hit post and I referred to Angela Sue as Human Jaladat's work wife. Yes. Okay. One more thing. When I was living in another place, in the same town, it was still downtown at the square area, but it was at a different place, more recent. The place actually where I lived before this, it's called the Landmark Inn. So when I was living at the Landmark Inn, there was an Asian woman who was going up and down the alleyway next to the window, next to my house where I lived. And in the middle of the night, she would like speak like obscenities like through my window, like cursing me. And this happened like 2 nights in a row. And it was around the same time where there was a lot of my own personal belongings were coming up missing around the place where I lived. For example, the only transportation that I had was a bicycle at one point before I bought my car. And someone stole the seat off of my bicycle after they had stolen the mat, the welcome mat, off the floor in front of my front door of my house. This is theft. The spirit of theft was happening, and all these things were happening around the same exact time. I heard this Asian woman speaking curses and obscenities at me through the window in the alleyway next to the Landmark Inn, who was an Asian woman. Okay. And all of this is a true recount of what I wanted to share, of my personal testimony, of my experience here in this town where I'm at, in Fairfield, Iowa, for the past 3 years. Again, my name is Shelby Steele, and I have been gang stalked by Elon Musk, Human Jaladat, apparently Angela Sue, if not her, which I'm 1000% sure it is, but one of her psycho relatives. She had her brother randomly reach out to me over the internet by email and offer to send a book to me in the mail and wanted my address. And he said I would send my book to you for free because I want you to read it. He was trying to get my address. And he looked exactly like Angela Sue's brother. And I said, "You're Angela Sue's brother, aren't you? I'm not going to trust you." And he said, "I don't have a sister." Lie. That's actually called gaslighting. Yeah. They think it's funny to gaslight me. Did you know that that's the worst psychological abuse known to existence? They think it's funny to do that to me. I'm going to wrap up now with my quitting Quora audio journal I filmed a few days ago. Thanks for watching.